started.
Hyperbolic. Cool. From Mexico. Okay, so e4. How about Alechine's defense? Knight f6. Played French, Rui, and a Sicilian recently. Go to some of the more obscure ones. He doesn't have a line against the Alekhines. He pushes, okay. That's normal. Then you challenge the center right away when you play the Alekhines defense. You can't let let white build up a big center unimpeded. You have to start sniping at it. And he can push the knight around. He gains a lot of tempos and pushes the knight to a square where maybe it's not the best. But then pretty soon black starts getting his pieces out and messing up the pawns a little bit in the center. Okay, so right here, maybe bishop to... maybe it's good to get the bishop outside the pawn chain. Bishop to g4. And I can play e6 at some point. I also want to play knight to c6. That's on the agenda. Let's see, if he kicks the bishop back, if he kicks the bishop, I'll probably just drop back and come around to g6. And that looks like a good diagonal too. Okay, should I play knight f6 now? Knight c6. If he pushes to d5, I can take over here. He takes, take the bishop, and I can take the knight. I'm not entirely sure about that. Let's play the move e6 first, then knight c6. I want to make sure I have a square for this bishop to develop too. And maybe block anything that might be happening on the e-file. And also this gives me an answer to d. If he pushes on to d5, I have the potential of taking on d5 too is another option. Okay, so get the other knight out. Get my pieces out, put more pressure on the center. Let's see, am I threatening to take? Bishop takes, pawn takes, pawn takes. Yeah, maybe I was. So he decided to take there. See, if I take back with the bishop, he can fork the
server announcement.
The bishop and the knight. But I think the idea is to take back with the pawn anyway in this case. Give me more center control. And now he goes there. So let's think about this. Bishop takes knight, pawn takes knight, bishop takes bishop, pawn takes pawn. I can take the queen, he can take the rook, I can take the pawn. Let's see, so let's count all that. He gets a knight, a pawn, and a rook. And I get a knight, a bishop, and a queen. I take, he takes, I take, he takes, I take, he takes, I take, he takes. He gets that bishop too. So he gets a bishop, a knight, and a rook, and I get a bishop, a knight, and a queen, and he gets a pawn. So I guess that came out good for me, unless there's some other tactic there. And the idea is that after I take his knight off, then I can conveniently develop my knight to e5 there. We'll see if this works. Okay, he decided to take that. So knight e5, and that way I don't have to do anything weird with these pawns here, and it brings the knight closer to the center. So if he takes, I take back with a pawn, then he has checks over here, but I can come in and block it with the knight at least. And now I have the pawn is in the center, and he doesn't. Interesting turnabout. He's got a pawn over here he can take. He can take on... okay, so that probably was not accurate. In this position, I could take the bishop off with check. But then he would have a queen there. Yeah. Anyway, so he can grab this pawn here. I don't see anything wrong with that. He can also go here, check, and ask me how I want to defend that check. But I had g g6 looks like it's an okay defense too. Defended g6 is also supported by the knight. So he went for the pawn, yeah. So if I attack that, he's just got to retreat. So I gain a little bit of a tempo there. Okay, he's going to hold on to the c-pawn. I'm just going to develop. I'm not going to worry about those pawns at the moment. I'm going to, I guess my argument is that, you know, his pieces are a little bit out of play. I'll castle and then maybe I'll round up a pawn. And if he keeps trying to hold on to it, for example, with the move b3 here, then his bishop maybe is out of play.
Check.
So he doesn't do that. Ah, okay, that's an interesting way to play. Let's bring this knight over here. I don't want to give up the knight on the e5 square just yet. Because I would like to be able to get castled. Now after I'm castled, let's see, I could go back to b6, putting pressure on the c-pawn again.
Check.
Yeah, he went with that. Okay, I thought g6, but now g6 is, he has queen to h6. I don't like that so much. So how about knight g6? Well, at least my opponent is thinking, okay, he put pressure on this pawn, so let's defend it. Okay, and his knight is coming in here, but now is my opportunity to castle, so let's do that. And I will allow his knight to come into this pretty good-looking square on d5. The other thing he could have tried was let's see, was there another idea for white here? Oh yeah, just queen back to f6, trying to prevent me from castling might have been an interesting try there. Okay, so he does hop into e5. Now, do I want to trade off this dark squared bishop? Maybe I don't have a choice. Okay, I guess not. I guess there's no way to prevent him from taking that dark squared bishop. And his bishop is kind of an annoyance, actually. So, yeah, white's position is better than I thought it would be. Okay, well, that happens. Let's see how he wants to play this. I'd like to get rid of that knight, so maybe I should play knight to f4. But he can take with the bishop. So that's not helping. Maybe I should have gone to b6 to challenge that knight. But c4 looks like a better post for this knight. I have the move pawn to a6 now. Maybe that's an idea here. Chase that bishop away. Okay, well, he's thinking maybe a little too long here. That's quite a long think. What ideas are there? Yeah, I would have just taken the bishop there. Although maybe he's thinking that's a bad bishop, which it is at the moment. And that stops me from playing. That stops me from playing a6 at the moment too. Okay, but I can play knight to f4 here, which I think is good, kicking the queen. And if he takes with the bishop, I can develop my rook. I'd like to just kind of triple up on the f-file. If there's an open f-file here, maybe I can find a way to take advantage of it. Also, rook over to a4 here looks like an idea. So he's coming back. Oh, he's forking the queen and the rook. I see. That's his idea. So I can go here and let him take the rook. Or the bishop. He gets to choose. but probably the rook is his idea. And I think I better take back. I don't know if that's safe to really give up a whole rook here, even though I did have the possibility of taking on f2 there. But I didn't see, like, there wasn't a mate follow-up. I also had rook here hitting the queen. The queen could just retreat. So I'm going to repeat. I'm going to go back. I have a dark squared bishop and he doesn't. That's the one advantage. One of the imbalances I have knight to d3 as a potential idea, putting more pressure on f2, and hitting the rook, and hitting the b pawn. So it's not entirely simple. Okay, that covers e3, and it ran away from rook to h4. Puts pressure on e6 here, d6 rather, d3, d6. So let's start with taking a look at f2.
Check.
Is that doing anything? Still, I haven't been anticipating his moves very well. Must not be thinking correctly. Okay, so he goes on defense. Now I play bishop here. He can fork with the pawn to g3. I can play knight here, though. And that hits f2. Maybe in some cases it can come back to f6 and hit the queen. I'm just hoping to show that his pieces on the queen side over here are out of play. I guess I've been saying that for a while. Like this bishop, it's not clear what it's doing over here. But the bishop can come back into the game via c6 at some point. But c6, bishop c6 right now will be met by knight takes f2. So I'm getting something here. Let's count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He actually has a pawn. He has a pawn and the exchange. Okay, so white's doing pretty well here probably. Only his rook here is not playing. Okay, so I get one pawn back. Let's see. Rook takes. Queen takes knight. Do I get a pawn back? Maybe I don't. I take the rook, he takes back with the rook. Knight takes pawn here. Okay, knight takes pawn, pawn takes rook. Knight here check. King g2. Knight h3 check, king g2. Yeah, this is not working out, is it? Okay, I better use this safety outlet here. Knight f6 attacks the queen, and at least I won't lose more material. Well, yeah, for some reason I was thinking I could just take that pawn, but that doesn't seem to work. It gives up the knight. Guess that's the problem. Okay, and I have rook over to d4, might be interesting too. The knight can go to g4 maybe. It's interesting, he's coming in on the light squares, but it's not clear that he has an attack going. And my pieces are all in the dark squares, avoiding his bishop and hopefully someday coordinating with my bishop. Yeah, so he goes for exchanges. Let's see, do I have something better here? Or a way to avoid the exchange? So rook takes, knight here or here. Once again, threatens the f-pawn. He has to come back to defend. And I could come in with the queen, but then that leaves this bishop hanging. Yeah, I need a way to get that bishop into the game, and I'm not seeing it. Or a way to harass his queen. Okay, well, for now I need to take. I didn't see an advantage. I did not see an advantage to letting him take. Here we go again. And knight back to c5 will chase the queen off of e3. Or maybe I leave the knight there and the bishop can develop somewhere. But where does the bishop go? Maybe I push the h-pawn forward. h5, h4. Okay, he goes there. So he's helping me out, I guess, by opening things up. Is that right? Let's see, I'm not hitting his rook. Okay, so let's hit his queen. And take that pawn, unless there's a problem. Okay, he wants to take back with the rook. That's interesting. And, I'd like to get my queen over here on this diagonal looking at his king. Unfortunately, he has, queen here to the back rank as a problem. Okay, so if I go here and he goes here, check, I take, he comes here with the rook, check, and that's mate. If I play h6, he can still come in with the queen to f7. Okay, as long as my queen's still in the back rank, that square is pretty secure. So now I come here with check. But it doesn't help, does it? My knight's getting over closer to his king. This is getting a little dangerous, maybe. Knight here, check. Queen here, check. Okay, so he goes back and defends the light squared diagonal and hits my knight. Knight's defended. This square is defended. There's no mate threat. Let's throw him this check and see how he reacts to that. The knight and the queen are not really coordinating. His queen is guarding all those light squares, so that's pretty good. Ah, interesting. Ah, he's got the back rank. He's got queen here. Yeah, that's awful. Okay, I can block with the bishop. And but when he does that, yeah, this is winning. Okay, let's see. Is there any way? There's no way to avoid the checks here. Bishop here, check. He has a rook in here with mate. Queen here to block the check. He can take the queen and then play rook here and mate me. And I have no time to give a check to his king because I'm in check all the time. Okay, well, let's block with the bishop and let him deliver that mate. Good game, Hyperbolic.
Checkmate.
And I'll upload this and do a postmortem. See you guys later. Bye.